Okay. So I was reading Tools of Titans, freaking giant book. I'm actually very proud to finish it. I usually don't take notes in books, like, that's a lot of freaking notes. Yeah, like, that doesn't happen usually. So, we'll have a video on that soon. Really a book. But today we're talking about something that was in Tools of Titans. It's called The Curse of Knowledge. And then also, I kind of want to look at outside perspectives. I think an outside perspective can bring surreal light onto a new problem. Whatever it is, there's always a benefit to something else or someone else looking at it. Business, school, work, whatever. There's always a good way to make things work by leveraging other people's insights and valuing their opinion based on the merit and their opinion, their ability to give it. And I'll give one quick example to start it out. It was in science, and it was a tough class. I was just trying to do something on my calculator, finish the work, whatever, right? We got to get back to reading. Yeah. So I asked my teacher how to do, how do you solve this thing? And she didn't know, so she said, go ask the math teacher. So I'm like, okay. I ask a math teacher, he doesn't know. I ask another math teacher, he doesn't know. I ask another science teacher, and she doesn't know either. So I asked like 4 people, right? And none of them really know what the heck to do. They're like, dude, I don't know how to solve this. And I'm a little stumped. I'm like, well, that kind of sucks. So I get back to, the class, science class, whatever. I sit down and, there's like 2 people at a table. I look at the kid next to me, and I'm like, do you know how to do this, man? He's like, solves it in probably 5 seconds flat. It was just right where I started. He was right there, and I didn't consider it at all. So it was really interesting to see that unique perspective. It was just, he solved the problem instantly. He's like, this is what's wrong with it, just do this. And I think that stuff like that can come a lot in different aspects of life, where you look too hard for something instead of just looking right in front of you, or especially when you're really trying to go towards a goal and bringing in other people to do it, but not necessarily leveraging the tools that you already have to their fullest extent, the greatest extent. Whether it be any individual aspect of a project, or maybe the team members in the project. Not necessarily pushing them as hard as they can go, but, maybe looking at, are they working on the right thing? Or should I ask them about this new thing? Maybe they'd be better fit at that department of whatever it is you're working on. The real problem is sometimes too much knowledge can blind you from different perspectives or a new way to do something on a given project. So it's a tough viewpoint to abruptly cut, right? You've got to stop, take a minute and step back, and usually the best way to do that's with time, reflection, and great viewpoints and people working with you. So let me give you guys a couple examples in stocks. I think a lot of my longer term investments, and if you guys haven't seen the Coke video on here, we sort of look at it in the Coke video where it's like different ways to view long term investments. But a lot of the times an outside perspective, especially from a fresh brain, can really help you identify and plan for future solutions. Specifically by looking at some of the best ways to strengthen your existing plans and even change them some ways by including new insights and working with new team members to bring a newfound chapter to a project. So back to the stocks, right? Sometimes you have a position like Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza last year, they dropped I think 20-25% a day, something like that. They had this massive single day sellout. It was after an earnings report, and the guys they just tanked after it. It was pretty crazy. So I go to school next day, and I asked my Spanish teacher, I feel like target demographic to the extent that she's got kids, and they like football, so it's like it's a pretty good demographic for like Domino's Pizza. I'm like, what do you think about Domino's Pizza? And just listening to like her insights about using or buying their services, food constantly, especially with sports and stuff, was really valuable, and it was just like a natural thing for someone else to do. but as you take it in, especially when you know exactly what you want to get from a unique perspective, so like you have the end in mind for what you want a viewpoint to bring to you, you can use that as a way to grow yourself, and then also to like really create more value from that interaction, because you're thinking, okay, how can I apply this to my financial positions? How is this going to change the way I look at Domino's Pizza? Based on, just consumer perspective, right? Like same thing with Nike. I have a lot of friends, they're really into sports, right? So, I ask them, what do you guys think about Nike? When's the last time you bought a pair of shoes? How many pairs of shoes do you think you buy a year? Give or take, stuff like that. Asking like really broad questions that inspire conversation and deeper learning and understanding. And at the same time, right, you've got people really questioning, maybe, how much do I shop at Nike? Or to another extent, how much is it worth to me to have the brand or the quality? And then it starts to bring up some fundamental questions for assessing long-term strategic investments, stuff like that, really cool stuff. And you just get that by asking for perspectives and viewpoints from different people around you every day. People that are going to be from different demographics, different areas of life, from walks of life, right? So they have different experiences, and they can really offer that unique perspective that would just be tough for you to do, right? Because you're not in their position. You're not in maybe the position of an ideal consumer for any given company. I don't buy a whole lot of steel, so it's tough for me to, understand the frontline principles of, U.S. Steel Corp. But you can take in someone else's entire history and perspective from something like that just by a solid conversation. Maybe get lunch one day, right? It's a new, it's just strengthening your core investment understanding. And in a sense, you can reveal new market opportunities just by networking with people outside of your area of expertise, or using other mentors in different fields to grow. Where you might not know as much, you can leverage their knowledge, their skills, and use that to grow, both personally and financially markets, but also to expand like your broaden thinking horizons, and where you see new opportunities in the marketplace and projects coming up in your future. Point being, ask questions, ask a prospective client, or just, what's their viewpoint on a product, a service, whatever it is you're trying to bring to the marketplace. You can use, personal interest and early market reviews to strengthen your conversions, to strengthen whatever it is you want to bring to other people to add value to their life. And even if maybe they don't understand what an idea is, or whatever you're trying, like product, you can use their different viewpoint in the marketplace maybe to explain your principles and what you really want to do. And then get maybe like a more neutral reaction from maybe like sort of judging it as a prospective client, right? Like in a way that you're getting quality, unbiased feedback from someone not in your field, which is the most valuable, since you're really going to have to stretch and expand to serve such a client. And so with a strategy like this, you can really quickly and simply test a business idea or strategy with just a friend or maybe a neighbor, right? Just like say, hey, whoever it is, just give them like a 30-second pitch. What do you think about this? And if you aren't getting strong response, maybe change something you're doing. Look at the way it's being presented. Look at what you're trying to do with it, and change it a little bit, change the pitch a little bit. Find someone new. Say, what do you think about this? And going back to financial markets, away from like business growth or whatever, just trying to judge public sentiment based on what your local community thinks about a company, and what they what's the general public consensus on whatever corporation XYZ is doing, right? So instead of just going in something blind, or maybe it's purely executive focused, you've only seen the annual reports, you only understand parts of the business, maybe ask people who use the services, and you can, grow yourself, use their perspectives, and improve the quality of your investments. One example with this, I don't know a whole lot about housing. It's not really my thing, or real estate, or like building developments, but I have my uncle, right? He's all over housing. He does like commercial development. He works with individuals and like fixes up properties, does stonemasonry, deck, stuff like that. So he's got a very strong history in the housing market. And so Trex Inc., whatever it is, they make the laminated wood boards for your deck, right? So instead of getting a wooden deck, you could get like a Trex composite deck, and it's supposed to be the super high quality thing, where it lasts longer in the rain, better color, better everything. So I don't know much about it. I call him up, I say, hey, what do you know about this? What's up with this? And yeah, he goes off on a tangent. He says they're just absolutely killer. Everyone's loving what they do in the marketplace, and it's great. It performed extremely well historically up until that point, and then also they just like destroyed their earnings, right? So they were killing it financially, and he says, yeah, they have much more growth potential. Everyone loves their products. So you get in it, and lo and behold, the thing doubles in no time. And then it splits, which is even like, it's just crazy stuff. So you have really great growth from that, just by leveraging someone else's understanding of the technology. Maybe one last example with General Electric, right? I was looking at them as like an investment, just kind of like off the hook. I asked my dad about it. I'm like, what do you think about General Electric? And he says, oh, the management's terrible. I shouldn't do it. And this was a point in time when General Electric was like $25, $30, right? So I stayed away from it, right? Because he was like, dude, bad investment. But then, it's served me very well, because the thing drops to like $5, $6 one day after a couple of months, a year. But like the thing just crashes, worst low ever. And then all of a sudden, right, you can play it off technical analysis. You can look at historic support resistance levels. You can look at MACD, stochastics, RSI, volume candles, candlestick patterns, all the good stuff we look at in the book. And I got a killer position on it, and like doubled my money in almost like 2 or 3, 4 weeks maybe. So by listening to his perspective and valuing it, saved myself from making a losing investment, and then allowed myself to make a winning investment in the future. So sometimes it's really just about ignoring something until it's the right setup, and then being able to take it very quickly when it's the right setup. GE was a $6 stock for like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 days. And then it just exploded, right? So it's knowing exactly what needs to happen, and also knowing that sometimes you have to freaking wait, and it sucks, but months and months and months just have to pass sometimes, because the stock needs to finish crashing, or the stock needs to do whatever needs to happen to get, in GE's case, for a perfect reversal into a, we'll see how it happens in the next decade, but just a stellar position there, because you have the patience, and that just comes with experience, and like understanding that it's going to take time sometimes, if you're not going to just day trade, to find market beating returns in your swing trades or long-term investing. And that's just kind of principles and how it works. So going back to the kid who just instantly solved the math problem after asking for math teachers, science teachers all over the place. I think a lot of times diversity and perspectives are undervalued. It just kind of sucks. It does. But wherever you're working, always strive to bring in diverse perspectives. Maybe you're working with clients, just ask them what's up. And do it with a broad range of people so that you can get a broad range of answers. And by doing that, you're really going to enable yourself to improve, exponentially, because all of a sudden, right, you hear the needs of your marketplace, you hear the needs of your workers, you hear the needs of your clients, and you can, use that information, fix whatever needs to get fixed, and then go and just make it happen. So, it's really cool stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.